What happens when a simple question about success turns into one of the most explosive meltdowns in daytime television history? In just 33 seconds, Teddy Swims went from smiling guest to storming off Kelly Clarkson's stage in a fit of rage that nobody saw coming. Subscribe now for daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals. Last night's episode of The Kelly Clarkson Show started like any other taping. The studio audience was buzzing with excitement, ready to hear from the soulful singer who had taken the music world by storm. Teddy Swims walked out to thunderous applause, his trademark beard and casual style making him look relaxed and ready for what everyone thought would be a fun conversation about his rise to fame and his chart-topping hits. The band was playing, the lights were bright, and everything seemed absolutely perfect for what should have been a standard promotional appearance. Kelly greeted him with her usual warmth, that big smile plastered across her face as she gestured for him to take a seat on the bright yellow couch. "Welcome, welcome," she said enthusiastically, giving him a quick hug before they both sat down. The audience cheered even louder, and Teddy waved, clearly feeding off their energy. The first few minutes seemed completely normal. They talked about his latest album, with Kelly praising the vocal runs and emotional depth of his songs. "Your voice is absolutely insane," she gushed, and Teddy smiled modestly, thanking her for the compliment. They discussed his tour dates, and Kelly even joked about how she wanted to come see him perform because she'd heard the shows were incredible. Teddy laughed and told her she'd have a ticket waiting whenever she wanted to come. They dove into his incredible journey from singing covers on YouTube to selling out arenas across the country. Teddy talked about those early days, recording videos in his bedroom, never imagining that millions of people would end up watching him. "It was just me and my phone," he said, his eyes getting a little distant as he remembered. "I was just trying to share music I loved. I never thought it would turn into this." Kelly nodded along, asking him about specific covers he'd done, about the moment he realized this could be a real career. Teddy was animated, laughing at Kelly's jokes, telling stories about awkward moments on tour and the surreal experience of seeing his own face on billboards. The audience was eating it up, hanging on every word. Some people in the crowd were even singing along quietly when Kelly played a clip of his latest hit. Everything seemed perfect. Too perfect. Then Kelly shifted gears. She leaned forward slightly, her expression changing to something more serious, more probing. You could see the shift in her eyes. "So Teddy," she began, her voice taking on that tone she uses when she's about to dig deeper, when she's done with the softballs and wants to get real. "There's been some talk online about your authenticity. Some people are saying that your whole persona, the tattoos, the beard, the rugged look, the soul singer thing, it's all carefully calculated, like it's a character you're playing. What do you say to those critics? How do you respond to people who think you're not being genuine?" The studio went quiet. You could feel the energy shift instantly, like someone had sucked all the air out of the room. The laughter died. The warmth evaporated. Teddy's smile faded just a little bit, and he adjusted himself in his seat, his body language completely changing from relaxed to defensive. I've always been myself," he said, his southern accent coming through stronger now, the way it does when he's uncomfortable. "I don't really pay attention to what people say online. Social media is toxic, you know? I just make music that comes from my heart. I sing songs that mean something to me. That's all I've ever done." Kelly nodded, but she wasn't done. Not even close. She had more questions lined up, and you could tell she was just getting started. "Right, but there are screenshots going around of you from years ago, before the tattoos, before the whole look. Pictures from when you were younger. You looked completely different. Clean cut, no tattoos, totally different style. Some folks are wondering if you changed your entire image to appeal to a certain audience, to fit a specific market. Is there any truth to that? Did you make conscious decisions about how to present yourself?" Teddy's jaw tightened visibly. His hands gripped the armrests of the couch just a little tighter, his knuckles starting to turn white. "Kelly, people change. I've grown as a person and as an artist. Are you seriously suggesting that I'm fake because I got some tattoos and grew a beard? Because that's what it sounds like you're saying right now." The audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This wasn't the fun, lighthearted interview they had signed up for. This was starting to feel more like an interrogation. Kelly held up her hands in a defensive gesture. But there was something almost calculated about it. I'm not suggesting anything, I'm just asking what a lot of people are curious about. You have to admit, the transformation is pretty dramatic. You went from looking like a clean-cut guy to having full sleeves and this whole different vibe. People notice things like that. Transformation? Teddy's voice rose slightly, and you could hear the frustration building. You mean, growing up? Yeah, Kelly. I grew up. I found myself. I figured out who I really was, instead of who other people wanted me to be. Is that a crime now? Should I have stayed exactly the same as I was when I was 22 years old? Should I have asked permission before getting a tattoo? Kelly tried to laugh it off, that nervous laugh she does when things start getting tense on her show. No, of course not. I'm just trying to have an honest conversation here. Your fans want to know the real you. They want to understand your journey. That's all I'm trying to get at. The real me? Teddy leaned forward now, his elbows on his knees, staring directly at Kelly with an intensity that made several audience members visibly uncomfortable. You want to talk about real? Let's talk about how you're sitting here questioning my authenticity when you literally have a whole team of people telling you what to say, what to wear, how to act every single day. You've got writers, producers, stylists, all these people crafting this image for you. But I'm the fake one? I'm the one who's not authentic? The audience gasped. You could hear it ripple through the studio like a wave crashing on the shore. Kelly's smile was completely gone now, replaced by a look of genuine shock mixed with something else. Maybe anger, maybe embarrassment. Excuse me? She said, her voice sharp and cutting. I'm just doing my job, Teddy. I ask questions. That's what hosts do. That's literally my entire job description. Yeah. Questions that your producers probably wrote on those little cards you keep glancing at. Teddy shot back, pointing accusingly at the small stack of note cards on the table next to Kelly's chair. Don't act like this is some spontaneous conversation. Don't pretend like you're just curious. You knew exactly what you were going to ask me before I even walked out here. This whole thing was planned. This ambush was planned. Kelly's face flushed red. She sat up straighter, her media training kicking in as she tried to regain control of the situation that was rapidly spinning out of her grasp. Okay, I think we need to take a step back here. I didn't mean to upset you. I was just asking a question that I thought was relevant to your career and your public image. That's part of what we do here. We have real conversations. That you thought would make good TV? Teddy interrupted, his voice getting louder with each word. That you thought would get people talking? That you thought would maybe boost your ratings a little bit? Well, congratulations, Kelly. Mission accomplished. You got your viral moment. You got your controversy. Is this what you wanted? The producers in the wings were probably losing their minds at this point. You could see people with headsets frantically whispering to each other, probably trying to figure out if they should cut to commercial or just let this disaster play out. This wasn't a commercial break situation anymore. This was a full-blown confrontation happening live in front of a studio audience and cameras that were still rolling. Kelly tried one more time to salvage things, her voice taking on a softer tone. Teddy, I have nothing but respect for you and your music. I genuinely do. I think there's been a misunderstanding here. Maybe we got off on the wrong foot with this topic. Misunderstanding? Teddy laughed, but there was no humor in it whatsoever. It was harsh and bitter. Nah, I understand perfectly. I understand exactly what happened here. You invite me on your show. You act all friendly and supportive in the green room. You make me feel comfortable. And then you ambush me with this bullshit about me being fake and calculated. You know what? I've had enough of this. I'm done. He stood up abruptly, the microphone pack on his belt making a loud scraping sound against the couch fabric. Kelly stood up too, almost instinctively, her hands out in front of her like she was trying to calm down an angry animal that might charge at any second. Teddy, please, let's just talk about this. We can move on to something else. We can talk about your music, your tour, anything you want. Let's just sit back down and start over. Move on? Teddy's voice was loud enough now that you didn't need microphones to hear him. The acoustics in the studio carried his anger to every corner of the room. You think I'm gonna sit here and let you disrespect me on national television and then just move on like nothing happened? Like you didn't just call me fake in front of all these people? That's not how this works, Kelly. That's not how any of this works. The audience was dead silent now. The kind of silence that feels heavy and oppressive. Some people had their phones out, recording every second of this disaster, already imagining the views and likes they'd get when they posted this footage online. Others just sat there with their mouths hanging open, unable to believe what they were witnessing. This was supposed to be a feel-good daytime talk show where Kelly sang covers and made people laugh. This wasn't supposed to be a confrontation. This wasn't supposed to be real drama. Kelly's producer stepped onto the stage from the wings, trying to whisper something urgently in her ear. But Teddy saw him coming and wasn't having any of it. "Oh great, here comes the damage control," he said loudly, making sure everyone could hear him. "What are you gonna do? Edit this all out? Make it look like everything was fine? Cut away to some cute audience reaction shots? Good luck with that. I guarantee you half these people already have this on their phones." Kelly's voice took on a harder edge now. Her patience was clearly wearing thin, and you could see the shift happen in real time. The friendly host persona was cracking, revealing something more raw underneath. "You know what, Teddy? I've been nothing but kind to you since you walked out here. I welcomed you with open arms. I praised your music. I'm sorry if you can't handle a simple question about your public image, but that's part of being a celebrity. People are going to ask you things. They're going to be curious about your life and your choices. That's the price you pay for fame. That's the trade-off." "The price I pay?" Teddy's eyes went wide, and he took a step toward Kelly, not in a threatening way, but in a way that showed just how frustrated and angry he was. "You're really going to stand there and lecture me about fame? You've been in this industry since you were a kid on American Idol. You've had people managing every aspect of your life for decades. You've got handlers and publicists and lawyers all telling you what to do. Don't talk to me about prices. Don't act like you have any idea what it's like to build something from nothing. I'm trying to help you understand how this works," Kelly said, her voice rising to match his volume. "When you put yourself out there, when you become a public figure, when you ask people to pay attention to you and buy your music and come to your shows, people are going to scrutinize you. They're going to ask questions. They're going to wonder about your motivations. That's just reality. That's the world we live in. If you can't handle that, then maybe you shouldn't be in this business." "Help me." Teddy shook his head in disbelief, his hands gesturing wildly now. "You're not trying to help me. You're trying to make yourself look good by tearing me down. That's what all you talk show hosts do. You build people up just so you can knock them down when it's convenient. When you need content. When you need something to get people watching. When the ratings start to slip and you need a viral moment. That's the game, right? That's what this whole thing is about?" Kelly's hands went to her hips, and she stood up a little straighter. She was fully in defensive mode now, all pretense of professional courtesy gone. The mask had slipped completely. "That is completely unfair, and you know it. That is so unfair I don't even know where to start. I have supported countless artists on this show, hundreds of them. I have given people platforms they never would have had otherwise. I have championed new music and new voices and new talent. I've had people on this show when they were nobodies and helped launch their careers. Don't you dare stand there and accuse me of tearing people down when I've spent years, literal years, lifting them up. That's what I do. That's my whole thing." "Then what do you call what you just did?" Teddy demanded, his voice echoing through the studio, bouncing off the walls. "What do you call questioning whether my entire image is fake? You brought up rumors and gossip and screenshots from years ago and tried to make it seem like I'm some kind of fraud, like everything I've worked for is manufactured, like my success isn't real, like I'm just playing dress-up. That's tearing me down, Kelly. That's exactly what that is. You can dress it up as asking questions or having honest conversations or giving fans what they want, but we both know what it really was. It was an ambush. It was a setup. The tension in the studio was suffocating now. The air felt thick and heavy. The audience members looked like they wanted to disappear into their seats to become invisible so they didn't have to be part of this incredibly uncomfortable moment. Some of Kelly's band members were peeking out from backstage, watching the train wreck unfold in real time. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every heated second of this confrontation, every angry gesture, every harsh word. Kelly took a deep breath, visibly trying to compose herself. You could see her counting to 10 in her head. trying to find that professional center that had carried her through years of live television. Look, I apologize if you felt attacked. That genuinely wasn't my intention. I thought we could have a mature conversation about your career and your image. But you're overreacting here, Teddy. I asked one question. One single question. And you've turned this into a complete disaster. You've made this into something it didn't need to be. I'm overreacting? Teddy's voice went up another notch, reaching a level that made people in the front row actually lean back in their seats. You questioned my entire identity on live television in front of millions of people, and I'm overreacting? You basically called me a fake and a sellout, and I'm overreacting? How would you feel if I sat here and started picking apart everything about you? Should we talk about how your show is struggling in the ratings? How you're constantly being compared to Ellen and coming up short? How about we talk about that? How about we discuss how your show might not even get renewed? Would you call that overreacting? Kelly's face went from red to almost purple. You could see a vein pulsing in her forehead. Her fists clenched at her sides. Okay, that's enough. You don't get to come on my show and insult me like that. This is my house, Teddy. My show. My stage. And right now, I'm asking you to either sit down and have a civil conversation like an adult, or leave. Those are your options. Choose one. Oh, I'm leaving, Teddy said immediately, without even a second of hesitation. He reached down and ripped the microphone pack off his belt, not even bothering to turn it off properly or unhook it gently. He just yanked it off and dropped it on the couch where it landed with a thud. I'm definitely leaving, but before I go, let me tell you something. This right here, this is why people are tired of these corporate talk shows. You're all the same. Every single one of you. You pretend to care about artists and their stories, but really, you just want drama. You want controversy. You want something to put in your damn promos to get people to tune in. You don't care about the music. You don't care about the art. You just care about the spectacle. Kelly crossed her arms tightly across her chest. Her jaw set so hard it looked like she might crack a tooth. Get off my stage, Teddy. Right now. I'm done with this. Gladly, he spat back with venom in his voice. He turned to face the audience, spreading his arms wide in an exaggerated gesture. Sorry you all had to see this. Sorry, your fun afternoon got ruined by this mess. I hope you got your money's worth. Maybe next time Kelly will actually respect her guests instead of ambushing them for ratings. Maybe next time she'll remember that artists are real people with real feelings. I said get off my stage! Kelly's voice cracked as she yelled it, the words coming out almost as a scream. Her producer was back again, this time physically trying to guide Teddy toward the exit, one hand on his elbow trying to steer him away. But Teddy wasn't done yet. He had more to say. You know what the craziest part is? He said, still talking loud enough for everyone to hear as he started walking toward the wings, shaking off the producer's hand. I actually respected you, Kelly. Before I came here, I thought you were different. I thought you actually gave a damn about music and artists and the creative process. I thought you were one of the good ones. But you're just another puppet. Just another corporate sellout reading whatever your bosses tell you to read. Just another person playing the game. That's rich coming from someone who changed everything about themselves to get famous. Kelly shouted after him, her voice echoing through the entire studio. She'd completely lost her composure now. The sweet, relatable talk show host that America loved was gone, completely replaced by someone who'd been pushed way too far and was done pretending. You want to talk about authenticity? You want to talk about being real? You reinvented yourself from the ground up. You saw what was working in the industry, and you molded yourself to fit that image. Don't stand there and act like you're some kind of pure artist who's above it all. Teddy stopped walking. He froze right there in the wings, just barely out of camera view. He turned back around slowly, deliberately, and for a second, for just a brief moment, it looked like he might actually charge back onto the stage. His face was red, his fists were clenched, and there was genuine rage in his eyes. Security guards who had been standing off to the side started moving in closer, ready to intervene if this turned physical. The audience collectively held their breath. But Teddy just shook his head slowly, a bitter smile on his face. You don't know a damn thing about me, he said quietly. But somehow the microphone still picked it up. The acoustics in the studio carried his words to every corner, Not a damn thing. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what I've sacrificed. You don't know how hard I've worked or how many times I've been told I'm not good enough. You don't know anything about my journey. I know enough. Kelly shot back immediately, not missing a beat. She was standing at the edge of the stage now, arms still crossed, chin up, defiant. I know that you can't handle criticism. I know that you're so insecure about your image that you completely fall apart the second someone questions it. I know that you'd rather throw a tantrum and storm off than have an actual conversation. That tells me everything I need to know about you as a person and as an artist. Go to hell, Kelly, Teddy said flatly, his voice ice cold now instead of hot with anger. And with that, he turned and walked off the stage, for real this time, disappearing completely into the wings. You could hear a door slam somewhere backstage, the sound echoing through the studio like a gunshot. The bang was so loud that several people in the audience actually jumped in their seats. The audience sat in stunned silence for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 10 or 15 seconds. Nobody knew if they were allowed to react. Nobody knew if they should clap or boo or just sit there quietly. Nobody knew what the protocol was for when an interview goes this catastrophically wrong. Some people looked at each other with wide eyes, silently communicating their shock. Others kept their phones raised, making absolutely sure they captured every second of this historical disaster. Kelly stood there on her stage for a long moment, her chest heaving as she tried to catch her breath. Sweat had broken out on her forehead, and her carefully applied makeup was starting to run just a little bit. She looked at the audience, then at the cameras that were still rolling, and you could see her trying to figure out what to say, how to possibly recover from this absolute disaster of an interview. How do you come back from this? How do you spin this into something acceptable? Her producer was in her ear again, probably frantically telling her to go to commercial, to do literally anything to end this segment and give them time to regroup and figure out damage control. The show's lawyers were probably already on the phone, trying to figure out what they could and couldn't air. Well, Kelly finally said, her voice shaky and uncertain in a way that viewers had never heard from her before. She tried to force a smile, but it came out more like a grimace. I guess that's that. I don't even know what that was. We'll be right back after this break. If you're still watching, which honestly I wouldn't blame you if you weren't. But her usual warmth was completely gone. Her trademark charisma had evaporated. She just looked tired and angry and completely thrown off her game. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. This wasn't the script. This wasn't the plan. The cameras kept rolling for a few extra seconds, capturing Kelly walking off her own stage, her shoulders slumped, heading backstage to probably scream at someone or cry or both. The audience started murmuring among themselves immediately, everyone pulling out their phones to text their friends, to post on social media, to tell anyone who would listen about what they'd just witnessed firsthand. Did that really just happen? Someone whispered loudly, "Holy shit." Someone else said, "I can't believe we saw that in person." Teddy Swims had entered the studio as a guest, as an artist there to promote his music and connect with fans. He left as a viral sensation for all the wrong reasons, his dramatic and explosive exit from the Kelly Clarkson show now destined to be replayed, analyzed, debated, memed, and discussed for weeks to come. The clips would be everywhere within hours. The think pieces would start rolling out by tomorrow, and neither Kelly nor Teddy would ever be able to fully escape what happened on that stage tonight.